Jack Morgan never expected to be hiding in an old mining outpost on Ceres with a 7-foot-tall purple alien. The mission was supposed to be simple: get the data core from the empty research station and go back to Earth. No problems. No witnesses. No aliens, but then the Craxus warship showed up on his screens, and everything went wrong. Jack pressed his back against the cold metal wall, trying to slow his breathing. The oxygen levels in the small outpost were already low. No need to use it up faster by panicking. "Your breathing is too loud," said Lily, her 4 amber eyes narrowing as she adjusted her large gun. "Humans are always so noisy." Jack rolled his eyes. "Sorry for needing oxygen, it's kind of our thing." He didn't know her real name was Tureleth yet. He just called her Lily because her actual name was too hard to say with his human tongue. She hated the nickname, but that only made Jack use it more. The alien's upper lip curled, showing sharp teeth that gleamed in the dim emergency lights. "If they find us because of your loud breathing, I'm using you as a shield." "Charming," Jack muttered, checking the power on his small scanner. "Looks like they're moving toward the west side. We might have a chance to reach my ship in about 40 minutes. Lily's antenna twitched on top of her head. Jack was starting to realize this meant she was thinking. "Your ship is too slow," she said flatly. "We take mine." "I'm not leaving my ship," Jack said firmly. "The data core stays with me and I go where it goes, then you'll die here," Lily stated simply. "The Craxus don't take prisoners, especially not humans. They find your kind ... disgusting," Jack grinned. "Good thing I'm an acquired taste then." For the first time since they'd been forced to work together, a sound like laughter came from the alien's throat. "Perhaps you are not entirely useless, human. Fine, we will get your precious data core, but when we escape, we do it my way." Jack looked at his new partner more carefully. Lily was nothing like the aliens shown in Earth's news feeds. Those were usually the friendly trading species or the political allies. Lily was different. Her purple skin was covered in complex patterns. That seemed to shift slightly in the dim light. The 4 eyes that watched him could move independently, allowing her to look in multiple directions at once. Her body was strong and tall, covered in armor that seemed to be part of her. 3 days ago, Jack would have been terrified of her. Now he was just glad she was on his side. "How did you end up here anyway?" Jack asked, keeping his voice low. "You said you've been tracking the Craxus ship." "Why?" Lily continued watching the scanner, her lower pair of eyes blinking slowly. "I hunt bounties. Commander Zexkar of the Craxus has a price on his head that would make even you humans drool." "So it's just about money?" The alien's antenna flattened slightly. "Not everything has a simple answer, human." Jack nodded, deciding not to push. Everyone had their secrets, even purple aliens with 4 eyes. He checked his own scanner again. The Craxus soldiers were getting closer to the western storage areas. Soon they would start moving toward the central hub where he and Lily were hiding. "We need a plan," he said. "We can't just sit here and wait for them to find us." Lily's upper eyes narrowed. "There's a maintenance tunnel that leads to the southern landing pads. If we move now, we might reach it before they complete their sweep of the western quadrant. And if they spot us?" The alien lifted her large gun. "Then I will introduce them to Navari Justice." Jack didn't know what Navari Justice was, but the way Lily checked her weapon suggested it involved a lot of shooting. "Let me check the tunnel route first," he said, pulling up the outpost schematics on his wrist computer. The blue hologram flickered in the space between them, showing the complex network of corridors and rooms. Lily leaned forward, her antenna twitching with interest. "Your technology is less primitive than I expected." "Thanks. I think—" Jack highlighted the maintenance tunnel on the map. "It looks clear, but there's a problem. The tunnel passes right under the main power core. If the Craxus have disabled it, the radiation shielding might be down." "Radiation does not affect my species as severely as it does humans," Lily said. "I will go first and check the levels." Jack looked up at her, surprised. "You do that?" All 4 of her eyes focused on him. "Do not mistake practicality for kindness, human. You are my best chance of getting off this rock alive. Dead humans serve no purpose. Right, Jack said, trying not to smile. All business. Got it. They gathered their limited supplies. Jack secured the data core in his inside pocket while Lily checked both her weapons, the smaller one she offered to Jack. This is a Navari pulse pistol, she explained. Point and squeeze. Even a human can use it. Jack took the weapon, feeling its strange warmth. Is it supposed to be hot? It is bonded to my biology, Lily said. It will work for you, but not as effectively. Great, a racist gun. The aliens. Head tilted. The weapon does not care about your race. It simply responds better to Navari biology. It was a joke, Jack sighed. Never mind. Lily stared at him for a moment, then moved toward the door. Human humor escapes me. We should go now. The Craxus will complete their sweep soon. Jack followed her to the door, checking the small scanner. One last time. The Craxus life signs were still in the western section, but they were moving quickly. Time was running out. Ready? Lily asked, her hand on the door control. Jack gripped the alien pistol tightly. As I'll ever be. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing the dark corridor beyond. Lily moved first, her tall form gliding silently despite her size. Jack followed, trying to match her quiet steps. They had gone less than 50 meters. When a sound made them both freeze, metal against metal. Something was in the corridor ahead. Lily motioned for Jack to press against the wall. She raised her large rifle, all four eyes focused forward. The sound came again, closer now. A scratching, dragging noise that echoed in the empty corridor. Jack held his breath. The Craxus hadn't been described to him in detail, but he'd heard. Stories, six-limbed predators with armored skin and acid-tipped claws. Creatures that hunted humans for sport across the outer colonies. The noise stopped just around the corner from their position. Jack could hear something breathing, heavy and wet. Lily's finger tightened on her trigger, and then the universe seemed to explode. The explosion knocked Jack off his feet. His ears rang as dust and small pieces of metal rained down around him. Through the smoke, he saw Lily already back on her feet, her weapon aimed at the source of the blast. Get up, she hissed at him. We must move now. Jack scrambled up, his hand automatically checking that the data core was still secure in his pocket. The corridor ahead was filled with smoke, but he could make out shapes moving through it. Large shapes. Lily fired her rifle. The bright blue pulse lit up the smoke, showing the outline of a Craxus soldier for just a second before the shot hit it square in the chest. The creature fell with a shriek that hurt Jack's ears. Run! Lily shouted, grabbing Jack's arm and pulling him down a side passage. They sprinted through the dark corridors of the mining outpost, the sounds of Craxus soldiers close behind them. Jack's lungs burned as he struggled to keep up with Lily's. Long strides. The maintenance tunnel is just ahead, Lily said, not even out of breath. Through the next chamber. They burst through a set of double doors into what had once been a storage room. Now it was mostly empty except for a few broken crates and some old mining equipment. Lily rushed to a small hatch in the floor and pulled it open. In here, quickly, Jack. Look down into the dark tunnel below. You sure this is safe? Safer than staying here with the Craxus, Lily replied, her antenna twitching nervously as she glanced at the door they had just come through. Jack didn't argue. He lowered himself into the tunnel, wincing as his feet hit the metal floor with a clang. Lily followed, pulling the hatch closed above them. Just as the storage room doors burst open again, they stood completely still in the darkness. Jack held his breath as heavy footsteps moved around the room above them. Something scraped across the floor directly over the hatch. After what seemed like forever, the footsteps moved away. The door to the storage room closed with a hiss. That was close, Jack whispered. Lily didn't respond. She activated a small light on her armor, illuminating the narrow tunnel around them. It stretched ahead into darkness, barely wide enough for her broad shoulders. The radiation shielding appears intact, she said, checking a device on her wrist. We should be safe to proceed. They moved forward slowly, Lily leading the way. The tunnel was meant for maintenance robots, not people, and they had to crouch to avoid hitting their heads on the low ceiling. Where does this come out? Jack asked, trying to match the tunnel to the map he had seen earlier. Near the southern landing pads, Lily replied. If we can reach my ship, we have a chance of escaping. And what about my ship? Lily's 4 eyes all swiveled to look at him. Your ship is likely already being torn apart by Krax's search teams, except that it is lost. Jack wanted to argue, but he knew she was probably right. His small transport vessel would be no match for a Krax's battlecruiser anyway. Fine, he said. But I still need to get this data core back to Earth. That's non-negotiable. Your human priorities are strange, Lily commented as they continued down the tunnel. What information could be so important? Jack hesitated. The contents of the data core were classified. Even he didn't know exactly what was on it. But Lily had saved his life multiple times now. Maybe she deserves some truth. It contains research data from a deep space expedition, he explained. They were studying something called dark matter currents, ways to navigate faster through space. Lily stopped suddenly, causing Jack to bump into her. All 4 of her eyes widened. Your people have discovered flow currents? She asked, her voice different than Jack had heard before, almost impressed. I don't know the details, Jack admitted. I'm just the courier, but it's supposed to be a big breakthrough. Lily was quiet for a moment, her antenna moving slowly as if she was deep in thought. This changes things. The data you carry may be worth more than you realize. More than 63 billion credits? Jack asked, remembering the value Lily had placed on her mysterious bounty. Perhaps, Lily said, turning to continue down the tunnel. If your scientists have truly mapped the flow currents, many species would pay handsomely for that knowledge. Jack frowned. It's not for sale. This belongs to Earth Alliance. Everything has a price, human, Lily said. Even principles. Before Jack could respond, a loud alarm began to sound throughout the outpost. Red emergency lights flashed even in their maintenance tunnel. What is that? Jack asked, covering his ears. Lily checked her wrist device again, her antenna now flat against her head. Life support systems are failing. The Kraxus must have damaged the main reactor. How long do we have? Minutes, perhaps? We need to reach the surface now. They moved faster through the tunnel, no longer worried about making noise. The Kraxus would be focused on the alarms, giving them a brief window to escape. The tunnel began to slope upward, and soon they reached another hatch. Lily pushed it open carefully and peered out. Clear, she said, pulling herself up and out. She reached down to help Jack. They emerged onto a small landing pad at the edge of the outpost. Jack could see the curve of Ceres' surface stretching. Away, the stars bright and clear in the vacuum above. Several small ships were docked nearby, but most were damaged or missing parts. Which one is yours? Jack asked, looking around at the vessels. Lily pointed to a sleek, dark ship at the far end of the pad. There, the Shadow Claw. It was unlike any ship Jack had seen before. Smaller than most Earth vessels, but with a predatory look to its design. The hull was covered in what appeared to be scales rather than metal plates. Nice ride, Jack commented. It will outrun anything the Kraxus have, Lily said with obvious pride. If we can reach it. The landing pad was exposed, with nearly 50 meters of open space between them and Lily's ship. No cover, no protection. How do we get across without being seen? Jack asked. Lily reached into a compartment in her armor and pulled out a small device. Distraction, she said simply, then threw the device toward the opposite end of the landing pad. Seconds later, a series of explosions rocked the far side of the outpost. Fire and debris shot into the vacuum of space, creating a spectacular light show. Now! Lily shouted, and began running toward her ship. Jack followed, his lungs burning again as he pushed himself to keep up. They were halfway to the ship when a Kraxus patrol appeared from behind a damaged transport vessel. 3 of the large alien soldiers spotted them immediately and raised their weapons. Jack had his first clear look at the enemy, tall, armored beings with 6 limbs and faces that looked like a horrible mix of insect and reptile. Lily fired her rifle without breaking stride, hitting the lead Kraxus in the shoulder. It stumbled But didn't fall? The Craxus returned fire? Energy bolts sizzled past Jack's head, close enough that he could feel their heat. "Keep running!" Lily shouted, turning to fire again. Jack ran harder, pushing his human body to its limits. Lily's ship was getting closer, but so were the Craxus soldiers. An energy bolt struck the ground just beside him, sending shards of the landing pad flying. One caught Jack in the leg, cutting through his suit and into his flesh. He stumbled but managed to stay on his feet. Lily reached her ship first and slammed her hand against the hull. A door slid open instantly. She turned and provided covering. Fire as Jack limped the final few meters. "Get in!" She yelled as more Craxus appeared on the landing pad. Jack practically fell into the ship, his injured leg giving way beneath him. Lily backed in after him, still firing at the approaching enemies. The door closed with a hiss, sealing them inside the strange alien vessel. Lily rushed to the control panel, her fingers flying over symbols Jack didn't recognize. "Hang on," she said as the ship's engines hummed to life. "This will not be a smooth departure." Jack grabbed onto a nearby rail as the ship lurched upward. Through a small viewport he could see the Craxus soldiers growing smaller as they rose away from the landing pad. "And they're shooting at us," he noted, watching energy bolts flash past the ship. "They will not hit us," Lily said confidently, her hands still moving across the controls. "The shadow claw is too fast." The ship accelerated suddenly, pressing Jack back against the wall. Ceres rapidly shrank below them as they shot toward open space. "What about the Craxus battlecruiser?" Jack asked, remembering the massive ship that had started this whole mess. Lily's antenna twitched. "That," she admitted, "might be a problem." The shadow claw shook as a blast from the Craxus battlecruiser nearly hit them. Lily's hands moved quickly over the controls, making the small ship dodge and weave through space. "Can this thing go any faster?" Jack asked, holding tight to a support rail as the ship lurched again. "We are already at 90% power," Lily replied, her 4 eyes focused on the displays in front of her. "Any more and we risk burning out the engines." Another blast from the Craxus ship lit up space nearby, closer this time. The shadow claw shuddered from the near miss. "I think burning out the engines might be better than getting blown up," Jack pointed out. Lily's antenna twitched in what Jack was beginning to recognize as annoyance. "Your input is noted, human." But she pushed a lever forward and the ship surged ahead with new speed. Jack looked out the small viewport. The Craxus battlecruiser was falling behind, but it was still firing at them. Its massive form blocked out the stars, making it look like a piece of space had come alive and was chasing them. "We need somewhere to hide," Lily said, checking a star chart on one of her screens. "The asteroid belt near Mars should provide enough cover until I can activate the stealth systems." "How long until we reach it?" "Approximately 12 minutes. Lily glanced at Jack. "Can you survive that long?" Jack realized he was still bleeding from the cut on his leg. The pain had been masked by adrenaline, but now it was starting to really hurt. "I'll manage," he said, trying to sound tougher than he felt. "Got any first aid supplies on this fancy ship of yours?" Lily pointed to a compartment near the floor. "Medical kit. The solutions may burn your skin, but they will stop the bleeding." "Great," Jack muttered, reaching for the compartment. "That sounds fun." Inside, he found containers filled with strange colored liquids and items that looked nothing like Earth medical supplies. He held up a purple vial with a question on his face. "The blue one," Lily said without looking away from her controls. "Pour it directly on the wound." Jack found the blue vial and rolled up his torn pant leg. The cut was deeper than he'd thought, about 4 inches long across his calf. Blood had soaked his sock and was pooling in his boot. He uncapped the vial and poured the blue liquid onto his wound. Immediately, a burning sensation shot through his leg, making him gasp in pain. "You weren't kidding about the burning," he said through clenched teeth. "Navari medicine is effective if uncomfortable," Lily replied. "The pain will pass soon." True to her word, the burning sensation faded after a few seconds. Jack watched in amazement as the edges of his wound began to close before his eyes. That's incredible," he said. "Earth medicine can't do that." "Your species is still developing," Lily said, her tone neither insulting nor complimentary. Just stating a fact. Many races go through a slow medical evolution. Jack wrapped a bandage from the kit around his mostly healed leg and pulled his pant leg back down. Thanks for the history lesson. How are we doing with our friends back there? Lily checked her rear scanners. They are still in pursuit, but we have increased our lead. 8 minutes to the asteroid belt. The ship continued to speed away from Ceres and the Craxus battlecruiser. Jack took the opportunity to look around the interior of Lily's vessel. It was small but efficient, with every space serving a purpose. The walls were covered in the same scale-like material as the outside, giving the cabin an almost living quality. Nice ship, he commented. Is this standard for your people? No, Lily replied, her antenna moving slightly. The Shadowclaw is custom. I have modified it extensively for my work, bounty hunting, among other things. Jack moved closer to the front of the ship where Lily was piloting. The control panel was unlike anything he'd seen on Earth vessels. Instead of buttons and switches, it had surfaces that responded to touch and symbols that changed constantly. So what's the plan once we reach the asteroid belt? He asked. We can't hide forever. Lily adjusted their course slightly. I have associates who can help us. Once we are safely hidden, I will contact them. Associates? You mean more aliens? Is that a problem? All 4 of Lily's eyes focused on him for a moment before returning to the controls. Jack shrugged. A week ago, maybe. Now? I'm thinking the more non-Craxus aliens, the better. That seemed to satisfy Lily. She nodded slightly and continued piloting. 5 minutes to the asteroid belt, she announced. The Craxus are falling further behind, but they will not give up easily. What do they want? Jack asked. Is it just because we're on their territory or something? Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she reached into a hidden compartment in her armor and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed with a bright blue light, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. This is what they want, she said, holding it up. The heart of Craxus. Jack stared at the crystal. It was beautiful but seemed ordinary otherwise. What is it? A navigational key, Lily explained, returning the crystal to its hiding place. It allows the Craxus to travel through special paths in space, what your scientists might call wormholes. And you stole it from them? Jack couldn't keep the surprise from his voice. Yes. Why? Lily's antenna flattened against her head. The Craxus destroyed my homeworld. They used this key to bring their entire fleet through a wormhole without warning. My people had no chance to defend themselves. Jack was silent. He hadn't expected such a personal reason. I'm sorry, he finally said. I do not want your pity, Lily said sharply. I want justice, and justice is stealing their key? Without it, they cannot return to their homeworld, Lily explained. They are stranded in this part of space, just as I am stranded without my people. Jack nodded slowly. An eye for an eye. Lily looked at him curiously. Your human sayings are strange, but yes, that is the concept. The ship's sensors suddenly blared a warning. Lily's attention snapped back to the controls. What is it? Jack asked, alarmed by the noise. The Craxus have launched pursuit vessels, Lily said, her voice tense. Smaller ships, faster than the battlecruiser. Jack looked out the viewport again and saw several small shapes detaching from the larger ship behind them. They were moving quickly, gaining on the Shadowclaw. How many? 5, Lily replied. More than I expected. They must want the heart very badly. Or they really hate having their stuff stolen, Jack muttered. Can we outrun them? Lily pushed the ship's engines even harder. The walls around them began to vibrate from the strain. We will reach the asteroid belt first, but not by much, she said. I will need to fly dangerously close to the larger asteroids to lose them. How dangerous are we talking? There is a 70% chance of collision if I push too hard, Lily stated matter-of-factly. And if you don't push hard enough? Then the Craxus will catch us, take the heart, and kill us both. She glanced at Jack. I believe humans call. This being between a rock and a hard place. Despite the seriousness of their situation, Jack laughed. You're getting better at human sayings. I am a quick learner, Lily replied, a hint of pride in her voice. The first asteroids appeared ahead of them, small at first but growing larger as they approached the belt. The Shadowclaw slipped between them with Lily's expert piloting. Hang on, she warned as they dove toward a cluster of larger rocks. This will be difficult. Jack gripped the support rail tightly as the ship banked sharply between two massive asteroids. Behind them, the Craxus pursuit vessels followed, firing energy weapons that lit up the darkness of space. We need a place to hide, Jack said, watching. As an energy blast struck an asteroid near them, breaking it into pieces, Lily scanned the belt ahead of them. There, she said, pointing to a particularly large asteroid with deep craters and crevices. We can lose them in those canyons. The Shadowclaw raced toward the asteroid, with the Craxus ships close behind. As they neared the rocky surface, Jack held his breath. I hope you know what you're doing, he said. Lily's antenna twitched slightly. So do I, human, so do I. The Shadowclaw dove toward the large asteroid, engines screaming from the strain. Jack held his breath as Lily guided the ship into a narrow canyon that cut across the asteroid's surface. They're still behind us, Jack said, watching the scanner. That showed 5 Craxus ships in pursuit. Lily didn't respond. All 4 of her eyes were focused on piloting, her purple hands moving rapidly over the controls. The ship twisted and turned through the canyon, barely missing the rocky walls. A blast from one of the Craxus ships hit the canyon wall next to them, sending rocks flying in all directions. Several struck the Shadowclaw, making the ship shudder. Damage report, Lily commanded, and a series of symbols appeared on one of her screens. Is that bad? Jack asked, unable to read the alien text. Not yet, Lily replied. But we cannot take many more hits. She suddenly banked the ship hard to the right, diving into an even narrower side canyon. 2 of the Craxus vessels followed, while the others continued straight ahead. They're splitting up, Jack observed, trying to cut us off. Yes, Lily agreed, a standard hunting tactic. The canyon grew darker as they flew deeper into it. Shadows covered the rocky walls, making it harder to navigate. Lily switched on the ship's lights, revealing the treacherous path ahead. There, she said, pointing to a small opening in the canyon wall. A cave system. We can hide inside. Will we fit? Barely. Lily slowed the ship slightly and adjusted their course. The Shadowclaw slipped sideways into the opening, its wings nearly scraping both sides. Behind them, one of the Craxus ships tried to follow but was too large. It crashed into the cave entrance, exploding in a bright flash of light. One down, Jack said with a grin. 4 to go, Lily reminded him. And now they are angry. The cave system was a maze of tunnels and chambers carved into the asteroid by ancient impacts. Lily navigated through it carefully, using the ship's sensors to find a path large enough for them to pass. Where are we going? Jack asked. Deeper, Lily replied. The asteroid's mineral composition will block their scanners if we go far enough. Inside, they flew through the dark tunnels for several minutes, the sound of the engines echoing off the walls around them. Finally, they entered a large chamber with several tunnel openings leading away from it. Lily cut the engines and let the ship drift to a stop in the center of the chamber. Now we wait, she said, switching off all non-essential systems. The cabin grew darker, lit only by the glow of a few important controls. Jack listened carefully but heard nothing except the soft hum of the ship's life support systems. Did we lose them? He whispered. For now, Lily said. But they will search every part of this asteroid. We need a plan to get past them. Jack thought for a moment. What about your associates? The ones you said could help us? Lily's antenna twitched. I need to send a message to them, but any transmission might be detected by the Craxus, so we're stuck, not necessarily. Lily moved to a storage compartment and began removing equipment. This asteroid has an unusual composition. If I can set up a directional pulse transmitter on the surface, I might be able to send a message that the Craxus cannot detect. You want to go outside? Jack asked in disbelief. With 4 Craxus ships hunting for us? It is our best option, Lily stated simply. Unless you have a better idea? Jack didn't. He watched as Lily assembled a small device from the parts she had gathered. "This will send a focus signal to my associates," she explained. "But it must be placed on the asteroid's surface to work properly." "Let me go with you," Jack offered. "Two sets of eyes are better than one." Lily considered this for a moment. "Do you have experience with spacewalks?" "Basic training," Jack admitted. "I'm not an expert, but I can handle myself." "Very well," Lily said. "There are environmental suits in the rear compartment. Find one that fits you." Jack moved to the back of the ship and found the suits. They were designed for Lily's species, with 4 eye holes and spaces for antenna. But one of the smaller ones fit him well enough with some adjustments. While he suited up, Lily programmed a course into the ship's computer. "If we do not return within 2 hours, the Shadowclaw will automatically attempt to reach the Mars trading post," she told Jack. "The data core should survive even if the ship is damaged." "That's comforting," Jack said dryly. "But let's focus on both of us returning, okay?" Lily's antenna moved in what might have been agreement. She finished putting on her own suit and checked Jack's to make sure it was secure. "The atmosphere in these suits will last 4 hours," she said. "We should need less than 1 to place the transmitter and return, unless something goes wrong," Jack pointed out. "Something always goes wrong," Lily replied, and Jack couldn't tell if she was joking. They moved to the ship's airlock. Lily carried the transmitter device while Jack held a small toolkit. The airlock cycled, removing the air, and then the outer door opened to the cave. They pushed off from the ship, using small thrusters on their suits to move through the zero-gravity environment. The cave was even larger than it had appeared from. Inside the Shadowclaw, with strange crystal formations growing from the walls and ceiling. "This way," Lily said, pointing to one of the tunnel openings. "My scans show this leads most directly to the surface." They moved carefully through the tunnel, their suit lights illuminating the path ahead. The tunnel twisted and turned, sometimes growing so narrow they had to turn sideways to pass through. After about 20 minutes of slow progress, Lily held up her hand, signaling Jack to stop. "Listen," she said over the com. Jack held still and heard it, a faint mechanical sound echoing through the tunnel ahead. "Craxus?" he whispered. "Yes, they must be searching the tunnels on foot. What do we do?" Lily looked around, then pointed to a small side passage, that way. "It will take longer, but we might avoid them." They moved into the side passage, which was barely large enough for them to crawl through. Jack went first, pushing the toolkit ahead of him. While Lily followed with the transmitter, the passage suddenly opened into another large chamber. Jack pulled himself out and waited for Lily to join him. "Look," he said, pointing upward, above them, a crack in the asteroid's surface let in a thin shaft of sunlight. Stars were visible through the opening. "The surface," Lily said. "This is better than I hoped." "We can place the transmitter here." They used their thrusters to float up toward the crack. It was too small for them to fit through, but large enough for the transmitter to be positioned properly. Lily began setting up the device while Jack kept watch. He could still hear faint sounds of the Craxus search party, but they seemed to be moving away from their position. "How long will this take?" he asked. "A few minutes to set up, then another minute to send the message," Lily replied, working quickly with the transmitter. "Then we return to the ship and wait for a response." Jack continued to scan their surroundings, feeling exposed despite being hidden inside the asteroid. The crack above them suddenly darkened as something passed over it. "Lily," he whispered urgently, "something's up there." She looked up briefly, her 4 eyes narrowing. "A Craxus ship? They are scanning the surface? Can they detect us?" "Not if we remain still," Lily said, continuing to work on the transmitter. "Their sensors cannot penetrate this deep into the asteroid." Jack wasn't convinced, but he had no choice but to trust her. He watched nervously as the shadow moved slowly across the crack above them. "Almost done," Lily said. "I just need to—" A loud cracking sound interrupted her. Small pieces of rock began falling from around the crack. "What's happening?" Jack asked. "They're using explosives," Lily said, working faster now. "Trying to break open the surface to search inside." More rocks fell as the crack widened. Dust filled the chamber, making it hard to see. "Hurry," Jack urged. "Done," Lily announced, activating the transmitter. The device hummed to life, sending its signal through the widening crack above them. A much louder explosion shook the entire chamber. The crack suddenly expanded into a large hole, and sunlight poured in along with the searching beams of Craxus. "Scanners." "Time to go," Jack said, grabbing Lily's arm. They pushed off toward the passage they had come through, just as a Craxus soldier appeared in the opening above them. "They've seen us!" Lily shouted, pulling out a weapon Jack hadn't noticed. She was carrying the chase was on. Jack and Lily raced through the narrow tunnel, the sounds of Craxus soldiers close behind them. Energy blasts hit the walls around them, sending rock fragments flying in the zero gravity. "How far to the ship?" Jack asked, his breath coming fast inside his helmet. 200 meters, Lily replied. "But we cannot lead them directly to the Shadow Claw." She suddenly grabbed Jack's arm and pulled him into a side passage that he hadn't even noticed. They pressed themselves against the wall as 3 Craxus. Soldiers jetted past the intersection, their insect-like helmets scanning in all directions. "That was close," Jack whispered. "Too close," Lily agreed. "We need a distraction." She reached into a pocket on her suit and pulled out a small device. It looked like a metal ball with lights blinking on its surface. "What's that?" "A pulse grenade," Lily explained. "It will disrupt their suit systems temporarily." "How temporarily?" "Long enough for us to reach the ship if we move quickly." Lily activated the grenade and tossed it down the main tunnel. It floated slowly in the zero gravity, drifting toward where the Craxus soldiers had gone. "Now we wait," she said. 10 seconds later. A bright flash of blue light filled the tunnel, followed by the sound of Craxus voices shouting in alarm. "Now," Lily urged, pushing back into the main tunnel. They moved as fast as they could in the opposite direction from the Craxus. Jack could see the soldiers floating helplessly, their suit thrusters malfunctioning from the pulse grenade. "They can still see us," Jack noted as one of the Craxus pointed in their direction. "But they cannot follow immediately," Lily replied. "We have perhaps 2 minutes before their systems reset." They continued through the twisting tunnels, taking turns that Lily seemed to remember from their journey out. Jack was completely lost, but he trusted the alien mercenary's sense of direction. Finally, they rounded a corner and saw the Shadow Claw floating in the large chamber where they had left it. "We made it," Jack said with relief. "Not yet," Lily cautioned. "The ship's sensors detect Craxus vessels searching nearby. We must leave quickly and quietly." They reached the airlock and cycled through, removing their helmets once safely inside the ship. Lily immediately moved to the controls while Jack secured the tools and equipment they had used. "Did the transmitter work?" he asked. "Did your message get through?" "We will know soon," Lily replied, powering up the ship's engines at minimal output. "If my associates received it, they will meet us at the coordinates I sent. And if they didn't," Lily's antenna twitched, "then we will need to be very creative to escape the Craxus fleet." The Shadow Claw moved silently out of the chamber and back into the tunnel system. Lily navigated carefully, using the minimal power settings to avoid detection. "The Craxus have positioned ships at most of the major exits from this asteroid," she said, studying the scanner. "But there is a small fissure on the far side that might be large enough for us to slip through." "Might be. It will be tight," Lily admitted, "but possible." She guided the ship through the maze of tunnels, occasionally pausing to let Craxus search parties pass by. After 20 tense minutes, they reached a narrow crack that opened to space. "That's our exit?" Jack asked dubiously. The opening looked barely wider than the Shadow Claw itself. "Yes," Lily said. "I will need to retract the outer sensor arrays and weapon systems to fit." She worked quickly, reconfiguring the ship while keeping an eye on the scanner for any approaching Craxus. "Ready?" she announced. "Hold on to something." Jack gripped a support rail as Lily aimed the ship at the narrow opening and applied just enough power to move them forward. The Shadow Claw inched toward the fissure, its hull almost touching the rocky walls on either side. A warning alarm sounded as the ship entered the crack. Metal scraped against stone, making a noise that seemed impossibly loud in the quiet ship. "They'll hear that," Jack said nervously. Almost through, Lily replied, focused entirely on the controls. The ship continued to squeeze through the opening, the sound of scraping growing louder. Then suddenly they were free, emerging into open space on the far side of the asteroid. "We made it!" Jack exclaimed. "Do not celebrate yet," Lily cautioned, already increasing power to the engines. "We still need to—" She was interrupted by a proximity alarm. A Craxus patrol ship had spotted them and was moving to intercept. "Hold on," Lily said, pushing the engines to full power. The Shadowclaw shot away from the asteroid, but the Craxus ship followed, firing energy weapons that narrowly missed them. Within moments, 2 more Craxus vessels appeared, joining the pursuit. "We can't outrun all of them," Jack said, watching the scanner as more enemy ships converged on their position. "We do not need to," Lily replied. "We just need to reach the rendezvous point." She pointed ahead to a section of space that looked empty to Jack. "There, 3 more minutes." The ship shook as a blast from one of the Craxus vessels grazed their rear shields. "Shields at 60%, Lily reported. 2 more hits like that and we lose protection." Another blast hit them, stronger this time. The cabin lights flickered and several control panels sparked. "Shields at 30%, Lily said, her voice tense. 1 minute to rendezvous." "We're not going to make it," Jack said, watching as the Craxus ships closed in around them. Lily's antenna flattened against her head. "We might not," she admitted. "Jack, if we are captured, they will take the heart of Craxus, but they must not get your data core as well." She reached into her armor and removed the glowing blue crystal. "Take this. If we are boarded, use it to bargain for your life. The Craxus will value it above all else." Jack was stunned by her offer. "But your revenge, your people, justice means nothing if both of us die," Lily said. "At least this way, one of us might survive to fight another day." Before Jack could respond, the largest Craxus ship moved directly in front of them, blocking their path. Energy weapons charged on its surface, ready to disable the Shadowclaw. "End of the line," Jack said quietly. Lily nodded, her 4 eyes looking at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. "It seems so." Suddenly, space itself seemed to ripple in front of them. A massive ship appeared where nothing had been before, dwarfing even the Craxus vessels. Its design was unlike anything Jack had seen, with sweeping curves and pulsing lights along its hull. "Right on time," Lily said, her antenna perking up. "Your associates?" Jack asked in awe. "Yes, the Navari Resistance." Lily opened a communication channel. "This is Tarlyth requesting emergency docking and protection?" A voice responded in a language Jack didn't understand, but Lily seemed satisfied with the reply. The massive ship fired on the Craxus vessels, forcing them to scatter. A docking bay opened on its side, creating a clear path for the Shadowclaw. "Hang on," Lily said, pushing the damaged ship toward the opening. They slipped into the docking bay just as the Craxus regrouped and opened fire on the Navari ship. The bay doors closed behind them, and the Shadowclaw settled onto the deck with a gentle thud. "We made it," Jack said, still clutching the heart of Craxus that Lily had given him. He held it out to her. "Here, this belongs to you." Lily looked at the crystal, then at Jack. "Keep it for now. We are not safe yet." The airlock opened, and several tall, purple-skinned aliens like Lily entered the ship. They spoke rapidly in their native language, their antennae moving in complex patterns. "What are they saying?" Jack asked. "They are surprised I brought a human with me," Lily translated. "They say the Craxus fleet is calling for reinforcements. We must leave this system quickly." One of the Navari approached Jack, looking at him with curiosity. He said something that made Lily's antenna twitch. "What did he say?" Jack asked. "He asked if you are my pet," Lily replied, a strange tone in her voice that might have been embarrassment. Jack laughed, despite their situation. "And what did you tell him?" "That you are my ally," Lily said, "and that you have information valuable to both our peoples." The Navari seemed to accept this and motioned for them to follow. As they left the Shadowclaw, Jack felt the larger ship accelerate, moving away from the pursuing Craxus. "Where are we going?" he asked Lily. "To a safe location where you can transmit your data core's contents to Earth," she replied. "And where we can plan our next move against the Craxus?" "Our next move?" Jack raised an eyebrow. Sounds like you're stuck with me a while longer. It seems so, Lily agreed, her antenna moving in what Jack now recognized as amusement. Try not to slow me down, human. Jack? He corrected her with a smile. My name is Jack, not human. Jack, Lily repeated, all four of her eyes looking at him. Thank you for your help. I would not have succeeded without you. As they followed the Navari deeper into the massive ship, Jack realized how far he'd come from his simple mission to retrieve a data core. Now he was aboard an alien vessel, helping a purple-skinned mercenary fight against a race of insect-like conquerors. Earth and its concerns seemed very far away, yet somehow, walking beside Lily, he felt he was exactly where he needed to be.